Welcome to this very quick run through of my Numidian army list that I took to the Warfare Art de la Guerre competition in Farnborough Exhibition Centre in back end of 2025, November 2025. And here you can see one of the Numidian horsemen tying up his horse outside the Farnborough Centre just as one of their little business jets flies over. So, that just shows it's a historical site to fight this in. So here's my list. Bogard in 47 BC. What I was really looking to do was, two very chunky commands and one much smaller command. So where's the best place to start with this one? Probably this one. 5 imitation legionaries, heavy sword impact. They are legionaries. They don't have armor, they're not elite, but they've still got 4 hits. They're really, really solid. They can shrug off a lot of mounted troops, even impact troops. There weren't really many cataphracts, almost none in this period. And they've got a competent general because I've stiffened them up, made them even more cavalry proof with an elephant, which gives me a block of 6 wide, which is the elephant and the 2 legionaries either side are toxic to any cavalry. So that's half of that frontage, and then the rest of them are okay as well. There's a lot of infantry to screen them. You've got 3 javelin men, 1 light bow, so that should keep them safe from any shooting. It means the light infantry can, in theory, go into rough terrain if there was any. There's a couple of horsemen, light cavalry as well. I've got a competent general with them. I can start to do 2 sorts of sets of things with it, but really there to join up with the cavalry on either sides, because it's unreliable. I've saved 3 points. It's going right down the middle. It's going to be forced to fight. You can't really avoid fighting this thing when you're fighting against this army in the way it's going to be laid out. They're always going to be deployed pretty much in the centre, except in exceptional circumstances, but certainly deployed where someone's going to fight them. So the unreliable is just 3 free points really, but this is the solid anvil on which the enemy can dash some of their best troops, and if it comes up against anything weaker than legionaries, it should be able to crush them. The other big command, the CNC, is this huge mess of 13 almost entirely different things, which is made up of several different components. You've got an elephant Death Star with the Spaniards. I like the medium swordsman impetuous in case you come up against enemy infantry. The elephant plus that is pretty decent, but they also do count as impact foot. So non-impact mounted who go into the Death Star, they're always staying either side of the elephant, are going to be down against the impetuous, giving the infantry impact. They're going to be down because of the elephant. It just makes that 3 wide thing dangerous to infantry, very dangerous to infantry, but almost again impervious to cavalry. Javelin men are sort of a bit of an anti-elephant thing. I'm not quite sure what to do with them, but they can skirmish away. That's their big advantage. They can give it out a bit of shooting as well. So you sort of get to 5 wide. Those 2 look vulnerable to mounted, but can skirmish away from foot, can skirmish away from mounted as well. That's really just sort of Death Star plus 2 supports. Then you've got 3 light foot to go in front of it to screen the Death Star. So that's 3, 4, 5 things with a javelin that put out shooting. And then you've got this sort of mini cavalry command. You've got a couple of cavalry, one of which is elite. They all have to be armed with javelin, and 3 more light cavalry javelin. So here you've got, they're pretty solid, especially the elite one. That's going to be wider than most people, and it may well actually be operating with these 2 as well, making that into 2 cavalry and 5 light horse, which is quite a lot of width, or quite a lot of ability to refuse the table with skirmishing. And then here, this other command sits on the other wing really. Again, this has got slightly less light horse, 2 light cavalry javelin, 2 cavalry. It's small enough that I can afford to send it on a flank march if the table's not favourable. That still leaves 25 on table. It's dangerous enough because it's got medium cavalry javelin, obviously the general's included with him, and another medium cavalry javelin. It does put out a reasonable amount of shooting, it can evade. It's a bit of a jack of all trades without being brilliant, but again, you support it with these 2 horsemen, suddenly you're up to a group of 6, 4 light cavalry javelin, usually outmatches everybody else who normally tends to put 2 or 3 light horse bow on a flank, so you can bully people on a flank. It's not really there to do much fighting, but if it can bully the edges of other people's armies and start to roll them up while they're getting bogged down fighting, particularly this one in the middle and also this Death Star, that's sort of the plan. So very, very quick run through some of the troops and the figures. The Spaniards, these were these Corvus Belli. figures. They used to sell them in DBA army boxes. I've picked up a couple of those in my time. These are the Corvus Belli figures, cute little swordsman. Couple of different variations. They're always fun. I like putting them on table. I also use the Numidian elephant or Carthaginian elephant from Corvus Belli. It's a naked elephant. There's nothing fussy about it. There's a little guy on top. It looks sort of mediocre, which is fine because it is mediocre. That's what it is. And then I've got these light horse. These were 3D prints that I've painted up, bought off somebody off eBay. They're actually very brittle. I bought them a couple of years ago, maybe, or a year or so ago, perhaps before people started sorting out how to do the resin better. But these are just very, very thin shields, but they're lovely figures, really well animated, and the horses come up fantastically just with some contrast paints on them. Huge amount of detail, really, really well sculpted. You can just about sort of see the faces there as well. But you've got to be pretty careful with how you carry them. And I think that probably means this army is never going to get used abroad, because I have to sort of take it in a storage thing that doesn't squish the top down with a piece of foam for taking on a plane. Because I think if you put a foam on top and took it on a plane, you'd lose all of these spears and some of the horses at the ankles straight away. Here's a sort of view from the front. You can again see the fantastic faces that I've not painted particularly well. My kind of amateurish shield patterns as well there. But this horse, I've done no painting here other than just to wash these with contrast paints. So that's all been done by the model, by the figure itself. And then so there's some other light horse which I try and avoid using. These are just some Essex ones, but I've rebased some of them to make the average medium cavalry javelin 3 to a base. So they're not as good as these guys. When these guys are 3 to a base, they're the elite ones. I just get the nice ones for it. The infantry, I've got forged in battle, Numidian infantry, all sorts of different types. I think there's 2 packs really. There's the ones which are sort of supposed to be the legionaries with these oval shields, and then the round skirmishy javelin one. These are based 5 to a base, which is how I base javelinmen. Done a few sort of half-hearted patterns with them, but not too much really. And so these are just the skirmishing javelinmen. These are light infantry javelinmen. Again, some very basic shield patterns. There's not too much to these figures. I think an Essex guy's snuck in the back there as well. Again, forged in battle, pretty generic. And some commanders. Some of these might even be by Bauida actually as well. I picked up some Bauida figures a while ago, which do fit very well size-wise with them. And again, another shot of the forged in battle ones that I'm using as javelinmen. Here's the close-up of what I call the elite. This is packing in these 3D printed guys again, a couple with swords. Is anybody broken on that one? Yeah, I think you can see that's just snapped off there as well. But super dynamic figures, really like them, really wanted to get them on table. And then these were the imitation legions. This is 2 packs of the forged in battle heavy infantry for the Numidians. There's actually only about 3 poses here, but it does mix up quite well. And because they're sort of heavy infantry, you always seem to get a couple of extra figures with forged in battle. So 2 packs gives you enough to make 7 bases if you're happy putting 7 figures onto some of the bases, 3 in the back rank, 4 in the front. Couple of standard bearers in there, and I've done some pretty basic shield patterns here which look better from a distance. What I wanted to do was get a sort of, we're trying to copy the Romans but we're not effect. So some sort of simple geometric dots or multiple colors, and then some of these which are kind of a laurel wreath. Again, it looks better from a distance. So it's just dark green blobs and light green blobs in a sort of arc there, which if you sort of squint, you can imagine it's someone trying to copy that Roman laurel wreath. And again, other than that, very, very basic patterns. And from the back, these are all just done, again, white undercoat. I've used sort of 2 coats of the flesh wash from Games Workshop. Sorry, it's not the flesh wash, what's it called? Dark Oath Flesh, that's it. So I did 2 coats to give them that extra sort of bit of darkness. And then this is just the yellow, Yamden yellow. I wanted to kind of make them mostly consistent apart from the commanders, the officers. And you can see here there's 3 at the back, and then just a leather for the straps, and these sword buckles and things like that, and then an iron for the helmets. Super simple figures, but effective on mass. They do look like a big old solid mass. and there they are, kind of waiting to receive and see what it is, as this army list takes the field for the first time, and these guys are going to hopefully tough it out and sit in the middle and be solid, be the anvil, allowing the rest of the army to do its swamping, outnumbering, running around the edge thing on both flanks.